Welcome back to the Holistic Business and Life Mastery Show. I'm your host, Supriya Roy, and in today's episode, we're talking about how to beat the game of social media with Prosper Taruvinga, a digital marketing expert. Are you someone that has been hesitating to take action in your marketing and sales systems? Maybe you've got some ideas about what it means and nobody's actually given you a clear roadmap to follow. So something that I learned on my journey is that marketing and sales, nobody can do it better than me in my business because there's no one else that knows my product, my customer, and my, value better than me. And that is where I learned that I have to do my marketing and sales systems and set it up in such a way that matches my goals and my vision, my needs, my temperament. And so can you. If you've been hesitating, thinking, well, I don't want to dance on reels, I don't want to appear on social media, I'm telling you, there is a different way for different people, working with your own strengths and weaknesses. And Prosper is going to shed so much light on that in this episode. Please take a listen and let us know what your thoughts are once you've had a listen. Enjoy. Prosper Taruvinga. Hello, Prosper.
Oh my God, Supriya, how are you doing? Thank you so much for having me on your platform. I can't wait.
The excitement is all mine, and we're going to get so much value today. We're talking about how to beat social media at its own game. And this is Prosper's findings. I'm going to dig his brain today, and hopefully you can enlighten us, Prosper, and show us a new way. Welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I must say, I've been listening to some of your stuff and the guests that you have on here. I really hope I am not going to be an embarrassment to.
No, no way. You are an expert in your own right. And Prosper, I've been following you for a while. You're a digital marketing expert. You're based in Melbourne, but you're digitally available, right? Your services are digital, online, and tell us how you help. Tell us how you do work with people.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. Yes, you're absolutely right. I live in Melbourne. I actually subscribed to live in Melbourne when it was the most livable city in the world. But this is what happened. As soon as I rocked up, they locked us up and they threw the key away. So first of all, now I can't escape. But what that did is it opened us up to become, available to the world. Like you say, we have become literally a global village. So in essence, I work with small to medium businesses to really navigate their way around the internet. And, when we talk about the internet for business people, it's usually your social media, your website, and every other particular properties that you might subscribe to on the internet. So we just help people make sense of that. That way, they can have a business that's profitable and enjoyable.
Oh, great. Amazing. So what makes this possible? I mean, how are we going to beat social media at its own game? For me, what I've always thought of social media to be is that, yeah, there are owners of social media, like, Mark Zuckerberg owns Meta, and Facebook is linked to Instagram, and LinkedIn is individual. X is individual. Can you shed some light on how to actually understand social media first? Like, what is this concept about?
Fantastic. And that's a really good question. The reason why we get really confused about social media and how we approach these platforms is because of the way they've been presented to us. Okay. So let's do a little bit of a history lesson here. When people used to communicate back in the time, it used to be obviously one-to-one talking, and then maybe during groups, either religiously or just in their little community, and they would then congregate as a country. All right, so there were small groups that were speaking to each other. It could be your school, your church, or just a little community that you're in. We knew each other, we would share news, and would share where resources are and things of that nature. Okay, so as things started happening, technology started coming in, people started flying to different places, there became a need to start connecting with people from other countries, from other locations. And there was a lot of migration that was also happening where people were moving to other countries for greener pastures, and it opened up an opportunity for people to want to connect without having to travel to those places. Now, platforms like Facebook then came along and became that easy place where you could connect with your relatives in America or in England or anywhere else in the world without you having to leave the comfort of your own home. But just like anything, Supriya, marketers figured out, wait a minute, if I can connect with people in different places, maybe I can also sell to them. So
Mm.
that now opened up the market side of things, where businesses thought, if I can communicate with anyone in the world, I can sell to them. And as with anything, marketers usually ruin everything because they now just flood the market with their message. They just don't give people the actual reason why people come to social media, which is to connect and collaborate.
Mm.
So that then presented a scenario where these social media platforms saw a need to start charging and creating a business model that then facilitated businesses to have access to just about anyone who was on these particular platforms. And
Mm.
so came the whole facade of us thinking the only way we can connect with other people was to actually be part and parcel of these platforms, so that we've got access to a wider audience. But it's not.
Oh.
It's not how it's really, it's not the be it and end all. All right. It is
Mm-hmm.
a way, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
the be it and end all. Right now, I wanna let you know what these platforms have done. All
Yeah.
right. Every time you're looking for information, where do you go to? Especially just what's the gateway to information on the internet?
Google. Always Google. It's the easiest.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Fantastic. And would you know how much Google has managed to index, the information that's available to people right now? I don't know, maybe you know this, but do you know the percentage of information that Google has managed to index?
I actually have never researched that question, so I would never know. But from what I've heard, with all the things that don't get indexed, meaning there's so much that people don't do, like especially business owners don't do online. Based on that, I'm guessing that they're not even capturing, 50%. That's what my guess is.
So I got 50% from you, which is half of the available information on the internet. But
Mm.
I want you to picture this. They've only managed to index 5%. So in all this time, we only have 5% of available information in the world. So that means so much of the stuff that we think we know is only 5% of what is possible. So
Wow.
this facade that they have created makes it into an echo chamber. There's 95% of other websites which might have recipes about health, wealth, relationships that we don't even have access to because they haven't been optimized to the standards that
Mm.
Google wants.
Wow.
So knowing that alone, it's like they're like the gatekeeper to the world's information. And we've been
Mm.
running on 5% alone. So can you imagine if you start operating in the world of the 95% and just find your people and you become that? You literally don't even need to be working within the little confines of, the little worlds that they've created for us. And that's the same for any other social media platform as well.
Wow. Wow. So that's so enlightening because that's just it makes sense as well, with all the activities that we put in to marketing our business and services and whatnot. If we're not doing it right according to Google, the gatekeeper, then we may not even be found until we comply, I guess.
Pretty much, because they have discovered that if you want to be found, but you don't
Mm,
want to pay for it, then you might as well follow their rules, which is, the search engine optimization that they put people through that rigorous activity. Or if you just want to pay for it, whatever money you have, then you can skip the line. So basically, where's the fairness in that? The people that really have the information, if they don't have the time to optimize their site, that means we're missing out on
mm,
credible information that could help us be, do, and have a happier existence, and it's being left to the people that have deeper pockets who might have a different agenda because they want a return of investment of whatever money that they're putting towards Google in order for them to be visible to us.
mm,
Whereas there could be information in the 95% of websites that haven't been indexed that literally could save us. And we think we haven't found the cure of cancer when we are dealing with only 5% of indexed information. It could be in the 95% that we're not looking at. But these platforms do this whole sleight of hand where they say, don't look at that, just look at what we've presented to you.
wow. So, guys, you can see why we're so lucky to have you here, Prosper. Just that's so clearly explained, and it raises the urgency for us to pick up our act, especially with, all the unsustainable practices that are recommended by the same people. Post every day, post 7 days a day, 7 days a week, post 3 times every day. It's just ridiculous for so many businesses out there, especially small businesses. So how did you come to this realization yourself? What's your story behind it? Was there like that Jim Carrey movie? Was there like a moment where you found this out yourself?
Yeah, I was just walking in the internet corridors and it hit me. All right, but nah.
Yeah.
But no, it's not like that. So I was very prolific on the social media platforms. I mean, even my whole business started off by creating a Facebook page for a restaurant, and from there I just really started learning the ins and outs of what social media should be like. So you would find me at 2 p.m. AEST at any given day, just doing a Facebook Live. All right, I'll be sitting in front of my computer like this and then telling people, hey, everyone, let's do this in marketing. So that now became the way that I was creating and relating to my audience. I created Facebook groups. I was a part of all these Facebook groups. So my whole business and ecosystem was in and around the Facebook, ecosystem. I had pages for everything that I was doing. So when I would wake up, I would say, my business is growing based on the likes and comments and everything else that I was receiving from Facebook. And Supriya, one day that all was taken away from me. So I woke up one day and we had been hacked, and I feel like this hack was actually an internal Facebook thing, because if it was an
Mm,
external one, I would have been asked for that two-factor authorization, but that
mm,
didn't happen. So you can imagine my business had grown so much that we were running accounts for other companies,
mm,
their Facebook ads and the like, and also running their businesses from there. So
mhm,
what that meant is we had other people's credit cards on file, and the hack stopped us, blocked us from entering, and it started running ads on those people's credit cards. So it ran up a bill of about 175, and then by the end of it all, it went up to like 245,000. $5,000 because some
Oh.
people that we were working with were having an ad spend of about $10,000, $12,000 a day. So it adds up, very, very quickly. So I've got no access to my Facebook account. So I'm completely shut down. And we started talking because if you have that much of a big ad spend in your budget, you actually have a handler. And our handler was based in Singapore. So I sent them an email immediately and I'm like, can you have a look at what's happening? We have been hacked. And they just sent me an email. And then they were like, oh, we will look into this, right? And then they put a code name Fabiola. So it's something that they knew behind the scenes. That attack was actually happening for them,
Mm.
etc., etc. So they shut down everything else, and obviously, um, I wouldn't wish this upon any of my
Mm.
enemies at all. You can imagine all the clients are calling in, "What's happening? What's going on?" The credit cards companies are telling them something serious is happening. So, first of all, let me tell you something. I don't know if this is an audio or whatever it is. I'm African, and
Mm.
coming into Australia, we literally have to work twice as hard to get half of what we can. And if anything happens to create some sort of distrust, especially with people's money, the first
Mm.
thing that people would think of is I'm stealing from them. Now,
Oh.
I can't begin to let you know the gravity of all of that. We went through 5 days of having to figure all that out, send emails to our clients, apologize, and also really showcase to them that this wasn't an internal thing. During that 5 days, Facebook sent me messages and said you have to showcase your ID, but I didn't want to deal with that. I just wanted to know that it was finished. All right, and that was done, and our clients are safe. We still had at least a business. I lost a few of my clients because the trust was gone.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that was my business. That was who I was identifying as. And Facebook keeps sending me these messages, hey, identify yourself. And I'm like, you didn't want me to before this happened. So I let that go. And then a message came in, and then they said I had 30 days to
Wow.
to recover my account. But I was still dealing with insurance. I was still dealing with clients. I didn't even want to jump on in or whatever it is. And that 30 days lapsed. So when I then started breathing and the whole thing had sort of settled down, people had been, the claims had been made with insurance and stuff. Um, I then wanted to jump in and wanted to log in, and I couldn't log in. The whole thing had been wiped out. So this is also a stern warning to other digital marketers, because this came through as an inquiry. Somebody said,
Mm.
can you look at our products? All right. And it came in and said all the products are in a PDF. So if you receive an email like that,
Ooh.
just ask them to literally open up their products and show you somewhere else. And also be careful, because some scammers will come in and
Yes.
have the thing sounds legit or whatever it is, but it's not the right message. So
Mm.
that's just the thing, because now I can't trace back to how it all came in, but I can think of a time when I had to open that PDF and it was just products that I didn't understand, and I sent them back an email, so they validated that we actually do high stakes Facebook accounts like that. So that being the case, 30 days lapsed. And then I'm now set here. So remember, I told you I was doing Facebook Lives, now and again,
Yeah.
right? So I'm sitting here, 2 p.m. came, I've got no audience to do a show for. So I took my microphone and then I just started yelling and being angry and just talking. And I thought I'd record this, it'll be a podcast. So I had not even started creating anything outside of Facebook.
Facebook.
I didn't even have a database, nothing. All I had was database of just the clients that were paying me at that particular time, and half of them had decided they didn't want to be associated with me because now I'm damaged goods. So I've got no one, Supriya. Zero. So I just
Wow.
decided, I don't know, I'll start a podcast. Somebody will hear me out there. Somebody will recognize my voice. I did about 12 episodes before I decided to launch at them, but I absolutely love that period because I think that was a cleansing period
Mm.
of those 12 episodes. And then when I was about to do episode number 13, I looked around and I'm like, wait a minute, it's just me in here. Why am I yelling at Mark Zuckerberg? Why am I so angry at whatever it is? So I deleted everything.
Oh.
I deleted all those 12 episodes and then I continued doing that. But this time around, I was saving every file. And
Mm-hmm.
now I have a 300-piece podcast that I just sunsetted and it's sitting there. So I did 300 episodes after that, where I was just helping my clients own their brand, own their media, how to do it, who they need to become, and also helping them develop into that person. Now, anyone who subscribes to anything that I do will start off from episode number one, and now that's an asset, Supriya, that
Mm.
has now started just generating leads for me. So there
That's
you
beautiful. Yeah. So what I heard is like you had this everything banked into this one platform, which is Facebook, and it was a highly recommended place at that time too. I mean, how long ago are we talking?
So that was 2020. 2020, that's when it all
2020. Right,
happened.
that's so soon. That's so yeah, that wasn't just 5 years ago. So you banked everything there, everything was inside their platform, and then you got shut out of it basically. And you lost your clients, you lost every like piece of credibility that you had built on there and also cash. And that's a lot of like that's a lot to lose, especially when it takes time to build. um, I can understand. And also with the reputation that you were scared to lose, it's just so, yeah. And so when you realize that, okay, now this is not going to work for me, right? How did you realize that, you know, social media is a game, I can beat it? How did you come to that realization? What made you go, ah, well, there's a different way to do this, because you're obviously running a very thriving business at the moment, but it's not banked into Facebook. You've pivoted somewhere. What is that? Like what happened there?
So I think during that time, I literally, the first thing that social media does is it holds you hostage and you feel like there's nothing else that I can do outside of this platform. You get caught up and get addicted to the likes, the dopamine that happens, the scrolling, all of that stuff. So it's like a total detox that I did where I decided, let me just give myself a break from this and then maybe I'll come back to it. But when I started putting out the podcasts, it went on Spotify, it went on Amazon, and it went on all these,
Platforms.
platforms.
Yeah.
What that instinctively told me was, I now own this piece of media, but it can be plugged into different outlets.
Mm.
I started receiving people, first of all, just subscribing to the show. And that I was still in the dopamine phase, and I'm like, oh, wow, we got to subscribe, you know? And what I then started noticing is, yes, this is a one way, and it's only when somebody hears the podcast, then they would, respond back. So I started creating landing pages. So if I speak about a topic and then I'll give people a reason to continue the conversation with me via email. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So I'll give them a PDF or a checklist, depending on what I would have spoken about on that particular episode.
Yes.
I started seeing people subscribing little by little.
Wow. Yeah.
Started subscribing, leaving their email addresses, and then I would then send them a few more things, and that now started becoming a little bit of an addiction. How many people can I grab from wherever they're coming? how many people can I grab from wherever they're coming? And as I was seeing my email list growing, I was then now forced to feed them so that they don't leave me because I'm scared that I might lose it again. But the
Mm.
about it all is I was not doing it on my own pace. The people were watching, listening at their own pace, subscribing, asking for more things that they wanted. And I would ask them, what do you want me to talk about? Some people would respond, why don't you talk about owning your media? Talk about some of these stories. Talk about, strategies on Facebook. Talk about this. Talk about this. And then I realized that there's a different kind of audience because some
Mm.
people would rather watch you, listen to
Yeah.
you, read about you, or just scroll and just know that you are present, and that's okay.
Mm.
I then realized, wait a minute, I've maybe lost the scroll generation, but I still have the people that want to listen and watch. So
Mm.
who am I to these people? And let me actually start holding them with both hands and legs. And I'm like, I won't let you guys go because I know what it means to lose people. And this
Mm.
started feeding back to the things that I was doing. And that also motivated me to do more because if you just putting stuff out there and not getting a response, it then just started. Yes, it did take a bit of a while, but now I was literally just responding back to what the people were saying via email. So email now became my hub. So
Great.
I would wake up, look into my inbox and see if people have responded. So there's things that I was looking at. Am I growing? Are people responding?
Mm.
And are people opening their emails? That now became how do I make this my viable thing? Because I own this database. No matter what's gonna happen, I'm not gonna be chased away from this. That now became my 2021 strategy. I just went in
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'll go show up as I was showing up with the podcast, but
Yeah.
this time around, I'm going to an audience that will respond back to me whenever they listen to it. So I made sure the podcast was evergreen and I made sure that the points were valid and they had a way to come back to me and all sorts. And with podcasts, people share them, people tag them, and it just becomes one of those things that people would find you. And so many people are caught up in just wanting to follow an algorithm, like if they say this time you have to be doing video on social media, then you start doing video. If you have to do audio, I think there was times when people had to strategize with audio and everybody became an
Yeah.
audio expert. Now there's reels. I don't even know what the ecosystem looks like right now. To me, it doesn't even matter.
Yes. Yes.
You get
No,
it?
yeah,
Literally
and
doesn't
that's
matter to me.
I've thank you for clarifying that journey you took and how you arrived at, kind of now creating something that belongs to you rather than belongs to somebody else, and really bringing yourself out of the, I guess, race almost, like, because uh we still educate a lot of people about building these organic ways to find new clients, which is, having a database that you're building all the time of people that are actually listening to you, that are actually interested in working with you at some point or another. Um, but that there's some practices we have to have in place. We can't just keep showing up on a live video because that has no way of them to come into your own database, right? It's like, yeah, I like that picture or I like that post. I like what they said, but there's no traction afterwards. It's just what you said. It's like it's a dopamine hit that, oh yes, I showed up today. I was visible today. I'm overcoming my fear of speaking, etc., etc. But it's not really resulting in anything tangible to add to the business system, is it?
Oh, absolutely. You see, when
Yeah.
you start creating these assets, you now create a pathway that somebody can follow. All
Yeah.
right. Because if you're just on live, that's fine. People will know that you will always be there. And what's the next logical step? So most people don't buy from us because we never tell them what to do next
Mm,
because
mm,
we want to be liked, and that's what social media teaches you. I don't want to sell to people, or I don't want to lose my audience if I start selling.
mm.
All right. because we want to be liked. But if I'm giving you value via email, you're reading it, you're opening it up, and then at the bottom, I do happen to run a digital marketing agency. Would you want to check out what we're doing? The reciprocity in human beings will allow you to read, get that value, get that information, do what you may with it, and then decide whether you want help with that. And there's an option for that. I
Yeah.
haven't just come into your newsfeed, because what people don't understand about the newsfeed is the newsfeed is like this. Supriya, you have people you went to school with, then you have
Yeah.
somebody you met last night at a networking event, and then here is something from a business that you haven't heard from, and then here is something from your mom, something from your dad, something from your brother, something from your best friend who's probably just came back from a holiday. So you are in all these.
Yeah, we're inundated with all sorts of yeah, it's social media. It's like everybody's creating media, right? Everybody. Even the kid next to us, like kid next door.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Yeah.
everyone is in different states. And then there you're like, buy my stuff. And then they're like, wait a minute. I just saw a dog that was left in a car and I'm still feeling sad about that. You
Mm.
come in, they feel sad about that, associate your content with that. Whereas
Mm.
email, somebody explicitly clicks that email and has to read it. They are in a space where they are engaged for that 10-15 seconds
Yeah.
with just you.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to say this with almost love and respect. I call my wife a civilian. All right, because she's not a business person, and I call her a civilian, and I watch how she consumes media. So
Mm.
basically, she just goes like that, on TikTok or whatever it is, and I'm watching. I'm on her side, and I'm like, have you even stopped to
Yeah.
see what? Not already know what she's gonna say. I already know what they're gonna do, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this person spent an hour a day, and especially when you're doing a trend. When you
Yeah.
do a trend, you watch it, you learn it, and then you film yourself, and all that time. And then when people just notice that it's a trend, oh yeah, they're just copying that. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there's Donald Trump talking about a suitcase. Okay, how many people have done
Yeah.
about that? You know what I mean? How many people are copying that? So people already have shortcuts when it comes to all this content and everything else,
Mm.
and they just scrolling past mindlessly, hoping to find something unique or something that just really takes them away from that scrolling activity.
Yeah.
So if you really look at how people consume content around you and you still adding to that, then you tell me that what you're doing matters. Then I just
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Thank you for calling that out.
yeah. Even if you sit in a train, just look
Yeah.
at the person next to you. I know it's intrusive or whatever, but just look at how they're consuming content. Everybody's just like that.
Yeah, because and also like you said, the algorithm also is controlling what is shown to people. Because we've got our audience community is all about service providers, right? And if a service provider wants to be seen on social media, if that's where their audience lives, like your civilian wife, there's many of us, right? If we take our hat off from business, then we become a civilian almost, right? I've been guilty of scrolling myself. Though I feel like, people that are looking for your services, especially like if you want to be found by the person who is looking for a solution, you need to be finding a sustainable way to sustain their attention and actually appear in a place where they will they'll trust that information as well, right? I don't trust anything on TikTok or Insta. I mean, that's just like, it's a given for me. I feel like that's for entertainment. It's very entertainment. Uh,
Yeah,
I have learned how to cook from Instagram chefs,
no
right?
doubt.
There's great videos. But other than that, I'm not looking for a solution for my problem on Instagram or TikTok. My problems that I would say that adds value back to my business, my life. So
Absolutely.
we've got to be thinking about where are we showing up and how we're showing up. And I think you do that really well with the value that you add to your customers as a service provider is you're on LinkedIn, your posts are very like they're very conversational. They're not, oh, let me educate you on this today. It's really conversational, but you're showing up in LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a community of business owners or experts or professional platform. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I could go on and on about this, but I want to hear it from you, the expert's mouth. Like, how important is it to choose a platform that is aligned to who you want to be seen as?
Fantastic. You see, everybody tries to be everything to everyone, and we
Mm,
we all fail. So I only so during my social media sabbatical for about 3 years, I was not even on any platform, not LinkedIn, not Facebook, not Instagram. Even if you go on my Instagram, I think the last post that I put was in 2020. All right, and
mm,
then I came onto LinkedIn. I wanted to see what people were doing with ChatGPT, and you'll be surprised, nothing. People are still unlocking and whatever it is that happens on ChatGPT. So I came in, and when I came back, I noticed I was a different person because I had been away from social media for a while, and I couldn't connect with the profile that I had on there. So what I did was I recreated a new profile, and then I just came in and I said, what would somebody like myself expect to see when I come onto a platform like this? Okay, so we always have a future that we want. We always want to go somewhere, and if somebody can show us that they can
mm,
take us there and lay out how they did it, I would want to find that person. If you notice, most of the things that I do are usually my family, very, very future based for a lot of people. All right. You never hardly see me doing posts that are very heavy. No,
mm.
because at any given moment, at such an age that we're at, we have aspirations. Maybe it could be wealth building, health, or relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I realized that I wanted. That's the stage of life that I'm at. And the people that I want to hang out with are also people looking for all of those things. So I then went on and said, as I learn something new, what can I teach? So you can find me talking about mindset. You can find me talking about certain things, and then I then tie it back to what exactly I do, and I then say, why don't I work with you? But in order for me to do that, we need to just do an audit.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at what are people wanting to learn
Mm.
in the smallest amount of time possible that I can show them that I've grasped it.
Yeah,
So if somebody has a problem in so many different areas, and then I might have a solution in that, they would automatically assume I might have solutions for other things if I've got that worked out already. So that's the
true.
strategy that I use. I just know who my ideal customer is, where they're at. It is just me 3 years ago. What would I have wanted to learn in a
Yeah.
social media environment? And that's exactly what I just put out there. And I'm having a conversation with that guy.
That is amazing clarity, right? And a lot of us didn't start with that level of clarity. And people start that we meet, they start with the wrong problem in mind. They don't identify the problem correctly. One of the things that I want to actually bring up today with you here is this, this problem. If you don't identify what the real problem is, then you'll start to believe in what other people are saying. They're creating narratives out there like, oh, you need to work on your visibility, or you need to overcome your fear of being on social media. You need to, you know, no one knows what you need until you define it, right? You've got to define it for yourself. And as you painted it so well that if you can just get clear about who your person is that you're trying to help, and you'll be able to communicate them more direct with them more directly. You'll show up as a different person, and you will also be seen. You'll be found, otherwise, yeah, the goal. I feel like people are missing out that goal. You obviously found that goal first and then you worked on it?
So the one thing is, right now, if I would ask you, Supriya, if somebody rings you today and they want services from you, what do you want them to ask you to do for them?
Can you repeat that question again? If someone
Right.
calls
If,
me
if
and
somebody
asks
rings
me,
you up, right?
yeah,
Yeah. What is it that you want them to ask you to help them with?
yeah. Oh, I want them to ask me, how can I organize my business in such a way that I can have my time back and then I can actually get some profits out of it? You know,
Fantastic. So,
how do I do that?
so time and profit, which is one of the things that, because I also help people with
Yeah,
profitability.
yeah.
So, so if you can create a process that is easy to follow. So let's say your name, obviously, Supriya, right, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are 6 letters, right? Two,
Hmm.
four, six. You can create a 6-step process that works with your acronyms. From S to A, I can
Right.
help you get your time and profitability
Hmm.
in 6 easy steps.
It's
Now,
so funny. It's 6 easy steps.
when
Yeah.
you then show
Hmm.
up online, you talk about step number one, step
Mm.
number two, step number three, step number four, and you build up on that.
Yeah.
And then you just focus on that alone. Because when you now have an idea of where this person wants to go, let's say it's to climb Mount Everest. No matter how the Havianas are looking good, the flip flops, that person wouldn't buy them because they don't help them hiking. So
Yeah.
there's no point of you referencing Havianas. You'll be talking
Mm.
about all the trekking shoes, you'll be talking about all the loose stones they will find on the way, maybe animals they might find on the way, and how to hydrate themselves on the way. You see how it's totally different
Hmm.
than just selling the peak or talking about swimming in an ocean, because that's what a lot of people do. It's got nothing to do with climbing the mountain. But somebody would say, "Oh, do you know there's an ocean there? This is how you swim in an ocean." It's still good value, but your client wants to climb Mount Everest.
Yes. That's
So,
a good analogy. Yeah.
so there's a whole climbing, and then there's also coming back. If you just climb up and back all the time, and that now becomes your social media presence, and have
Yeah.
conversations with people at base camp and then at all the stop points, and then ask
Mm.
them to look around. What do you see? What does it feel like? What's the breathing like? And you start talking about, maybe gas doesn't, you can see, because this is one of my plans. I'm reading and learning about it. So I'm just giving an example of that. All right. And then all those things, what would it look like? And then just show them a few pictures of you and other people who have been at the peak so that they don't get tired when they're halfway. And then you tell them all the other ways that they could go to and all that stuff. That now becomes just that path, and you will have so much content to talk about.
Yes, especially if you've done the climb, right? And yourself. I love that. I think it's such a good metaphor and analogy you used, because it is, again, I'm coming back to people misunderstanding the point of being present on social media or any sort of media that they're producing. It's got to be with the intention of actually talking about the problem they help solve, instead of making it about themselves and their own problems or their own shortcomings, or whatever, the worries and things, and being friends with everybody, being more entertaining than purposeful, isn't it? I guess what I am curious about is what is this, how is it going to be possible to beat social media at its own game? So you've explained what the game is, right? The game is that there's a false idea. You have to be a hostage to their own demands. It's false. You don't have to. You get to actually do it your way. and there's a unique way for everybody. Is that right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. So, and that's a really good question. So the way to do it is to just build your own ecosystem.
Yeah.
So you could start from your website. If your website has the information, the blogs, the content, the videos that
Hmm.
somebody would jump on, learn exactly what they need to learn in order for them to reach the future that they want, that could be a starting point. Then whatever you then do, I'm not saying you get completely off of social media like I did. You now start using social media to funnel people from there
Yes.
to your ecosystem,
Hmm.
not the other way around. All
Yeah.
right. So social media is that place where everybody has been to a shopping mall.
Yeah.
And usually people go to the shopping mall to buy groceries, something to eat, or something to wear. All
Yeah.
right. Along the way, they meet a shaver shop, they meet a linen shop, they come across a Lego, shop, and somebody who's selling kitchen utensils.
Yeah.
All right. When they left their home, they were not thinking about Lego, but
Yeah.
somehow Lego was just nicely presented on that particular day, or they had a discount, and then they walked in. But since you that wasn't the plan, you walk in, you see that, and then you walk out. But if Lego takes your details and says, hey, most of these discounts we give them to people that are subscribed to us in our mailing list. Do you want to be notified the next time something like this happens?
Hmm.
Now, Lego has created a future customer by grabbing that person's details, and you're still gonna go to Aldi or Coles and buy
Yeah.
your groceries and then go home. But now Lego has a direct connection with you.
Yeah. Instead of just a bypasser, now they've
Yeah.
got you as a subscriber to your updates.
And now they're talking to you at your own pace, at your own time when you've got the
Yeah.
capacity.
Yes. Yeah.
That's that's exactly what social media is. It is a shopping mall where people go to just
Yeah.
so that they buy stuff. And then when they come back, if you haven't collected their details, you'll never see that person. They'll never care about you as well. And that's where people get it wrong.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's a beautiful metaphor once again. You're becoming the king of metaphors.
I live and breathe this. If I'm
Yeah.
watching. That's the
Yes.
thing. Because I'm watching how else can I present this? How else can I talk
Yes.
about this? Now the world has now become my social media because I'm not looking down. I'm looking up and I'm watching these things.
Yeah. That's great. And you touch on a lot of things here, and it feels like there's a clear roadmap for anyone wanting to transition from being reactive to proactive, like there's a way to actually come out of that never-ending wheel of, creating content after content, and just blending in at the end of the day and not really getting any results, um, to then being someone that is putting value out there, also being strategic, and actually building something at the end of the day. Actually, has some numbers to show for it to go, yeah, you know what? There was at least one person that signed up or came into my environment this week. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and you know what's working now, instead of, oh, was I good enough? Did I speak the right things? It doesn't have to be such a find a unicorn, kind of game. It doesn't have to be. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the best thing is just find out what you're good at. So there's usually three outlets. Are you good at writing? Are you good at
Mm,
video? Or are you good at speaking? And then just know where you want to take your clients to and start using that modality
yes.
to lay out the journey, just like Hansel and Gretel. All
Yeah.
right. And then once you're ready, you've got a few pieces that are sitting somewhere. You then just go onto the internet and find those people and bring them to your platforms. Find out if they're enjoying all of those things. If they are, ask for feedback or ask them to buy from you. All right. So
Mhm.
if you're good at video, then obviously you could use YouTube as an outlet. And once the videos are doing well on YouTube, hey, you could always post that on Facebook without you having to use the native Facebook and now sit around and wait for people to.
Mm.
All right. And you can still reuse that video as a reel on, I don't know where reels go these days. And you can use it on LinkedIn as well. So that piece of content can now be plugged into
Yeah.
whatever social media. You are not looking at what's happening on those social medias. You're just looking at how many people are responding to your piece of content. It calms you so much and humbles you because they could be doing whatever they're doing, but you're seeing the responses back home. So many people don't have another layer to their business, so much that when something happens, they're completely locked out and they've got zero to start off with.
And your story is the best to learn from because there's again, speaking to the illusions that we've been conditioned to look at the world through, is that, oh, we look at people's follower count or their, people that are on their friends list. It's like you could have thousands of people on your friends list, which could be a bunch of random people that add you or the other person. But what counts is are the people that are actually listening to you and have followed you into your database, right, into your email list. And that is the whole value system here. It's like you're actually creating something for your business, your mission, instead of trying to solve a problem that doesn't serve and get you anywhere, which is like trying to be visible on social media. Yes, do that, but that's not the whole thing. I love that. I love that clarity that you just gave us. And if you look at your clients and all that you've helped do this, what do you think it has saved them, like in terms of like productivity, profitability, what sort of difference did it make of doing that instead of trying to become a better Facebook Live person?
Oh, absolutely. And you can't win with the algorithm because now Facebook has just
Yeah.
removed the fact checkers. So who's going to know what stuff we're going to be receiving?
Oh, yeah, right. With AI generation, with all the stuff that is going to become even more easy to do, it's
Yes.
going to be even harder for an expert or an expert service provider to claim their credibility
Yes.
as easily, right? So, yeah, tell us like what's sort of the results that happen when someone does this sort of proactive work.
Fantastic. All right. So one client who's near and dear to my heart is a fellow. I'm not going to mention names,
No,
obviously,
yeah.
client privacy and stuff, but he's a fellow buyer's agent. So he helps people purchase investment properties. And if you would know anything about property in Australia, not a lot of people go past the second property, all right, or the third
Okay.
property
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's not much information and there's just so many players in there that I just want to sell whatever product that's on there, etc., etc. So we stripped back everything that he was doing, which was just putting ads there and saying, hey, there's a house in Sydney that you can buy or whatever it is. But we started bringing people into his email list when we noticed that people were subscribing and they were usually asking questions. Hey, do you have any deals that are happening now, or do you have any deals that people can jump onto? We started noticing that it is a good piece of content to do a weekly rundown because he would do 20 or 30 deals in that particular week. The best ones that people would actually understand the numbers, the figures, or whatever it is, that became a standard piece of content that was going out as a newsletter. And then from there, people were now just saying, so how do we start saving for a deposit? We're listening to the actual client and to the actual people that are in the database, okay? Because yes,
Yeah.
we're doing all the socials, whatever, but bringing them to the database. And in there, we're really looking at people that are willing and able, but they might not be ready today. So we started noticing that people were asking, so how do I even start with a deposit? Can I use the property that I have? Can I use my super? We first of all went on and wrote a book. All
Okay.
right. So we wrote a book which gives 10 steps for you to own your first investment property. Now, when people come in from wherever, social media, we might do a webinar, whatever it is, we're just sending them to that ebook, and then they now start learning from that particular juncture. And most of the people that come from there are like, yep, now I'm a little bit informed. Let's go on to the next thing, which is to invest in a property. And when they have maybe had 2 or 3 properties, they now want to know how can they consolidate their super self-managed super fund in order to do that. So we went on and wrote a book about that. So now he has 2 strategic pieces of content,
Yeah.
which so many people just write a book for the publicity, but this book is
Oh, yeah.
strategically placed to teach people how
Yes.
work with my client. So
And
he
imagine how much time he's saving having to speak to all of these people individually, where, this sort of a solution is giving him his time back and impacting so many people. And, yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
absolutely. So you picked up on the time aspect because I knew you would love that. So in essence, what we're now just doing is we have a landing page where we might just put a bit of information around property, development or whatever is happening, and then we say, you want to know more information, get the 10 steps that will actually help you on your way. So people are reading this, and we literally have an hour of their time at any given moment of concentration. Yes, they might be watching Netflix while that is happening, but they are knowing, liking, and trusting my client without him having to twerk on TikTok.
Yes. Exactly.
All right. So
That's,
so
yeah.
so, so that whole framework is now, giving people, we have now created group coaching when people are going through those places for 10 weeks. He's now just letting people read and implementing those things. And pretty much once somebody has learned all of those things and is ready, they now become ready to buy from them because now they're informed. They no longer are embarrassed to ask all those questions because it's all in the book. He doesn't have to keep repeating himself. He's created himself an asset, which is evergreen, which now can be used at scale because the results are there. So that people understand what we did. First of all, we started off with a newsletter, which was just soft information, but then we expanded that newsletter into a book. All right. Now he owns both of those things. And to bring people to that newsletter and to that book, we do maybe a monthly webinar and everyday posts online. So we have relegated the job that my client has to do to literally just taking a photo of himself whenever he's doing a property transaction, so that we can use that as part of the case study for the newsletter, so that we can use that as part of the social media posts.
Yep.
And one of his clients just 2024 clocked 20 properties.
Great.
So you can imagine the results that he's getting from his clients, because now people are understanding and they're no longer afraid. And as I said, not a lot of people go past the first or second property in Australia, but one of his clients has 20 properties now.
Yeah. Great. That's good. That's a great demonstration in that story of how it can add to your bottom line, top line, and everyday living. It can give you your time back. And again, I love the fact that, for me personally, I'm a person that wants to feel like I made a difference, at least in some way every day. I feel like I need to have that sort of metric wise, I need to check that, whatever I did it even make a difference to anyone or anything? And having these assets, like you said, if you build them out, you're already doing them. Stop doing them every single day and just contain it, make an asset, and then have a way to free yourself up that time to track how impactful is that information that you're, sharing. It's beautiful. And finally, like you're beautifully demonstrating that this is working for your clients. What is your roadmap and what can the listeners do from listening to today's talk Who do they have to be to start this roadmap with you? Share something about that. Like, what's your roadmap? What's the first step they can take to?
That's fantastic. So, and thank you so much for opening that up, because for me, I want to work with people that have an understanding that they need to create assets. They now need to future proof their business. All right. So when somebody comes to me, I usually take an audit. All right. We call it the total online presence audit, where I'm just asking them who you are, where you've been, what is it that you want to create, and what does that look like.
Mm-hmm.
And when I understand what it is that you want to create, and maybe you've got a timeline to say, I want it in 5 years or in 10 years, we can actually shorten that by then creating those assets in there, which will then, we can now start putting them out to people to test them and getting feedback and course correcting as we go. Once we've established that something is good, we literally now solidify it and publish it. All right. I'll give you a specific example. Maybe people would know Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld created Seinfeld, the show, and did how many ever seasons and parked that. So you can go on Netflix or you can go on Amazon and you can watch it at any given time, reruns, binge watch, or whatever it is. He's not going back and recreating that, but it's now
Yeah.
part of his inroad. It's an asset that is created, which keeps bringing him back to whatever new projects that he's working on. So some people might say, "Oh, I don't know if, this is going to be valid in the future or whatever it is." You can create something that now just becomes yet another brick to the wall that you'll be building, helping your clients be, do, and
Yes.
have the existence that they want. So for me, we do that assessment, and then we reverse engineer to where your client might be now and to where you want to take them. And then we start creating the assets along the way. And once that is in play, we start testing what's working, we keep, what's not working, we ditch. All right. And
Beautiful.
I've then also really, really, we then incorporate, things like email marketing. We incorporate website development, landing page development, and things of that nature. And we have reframed SEO to not search engine optimization, but simply educating others. So if you are simply educating others on who you are, what it is that you do, and how you can help them be, do, and have a happier existence, you are no longer at the mercy of any algorithm.
That's awesome. And how long is that roadmap you just talked about? Like, what's the standard time frame you're looking at, preparing someone to make that shift with you?
So it usually takes about 3 months.
Oh, great.
It
Yeah,
usually,
90 days. Yeah.
absolutely. In 90 days, we can literally find out where you want to go. You might not be clear, but at least
Yeah.
you have an idea. And then we
Yes.
start working towards that. All
Beautiful.
right. Some things might not align, but also there's a whole mindset component that happens. You've spoken to me a while. Most of the thing that we do is really the mindset and paradigm shift. And once that's in play, all the person just now wants is to really, really let go, because we all have Ferraris, but we're driving them with the handbrake on because we are afraid, or we don't know what we don't know.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Yeah, that's a reasonable answer because that's my experience too. Coaching others, I feel like it's just a lot of personal letting go of habits that don't serve us, that don't belong with the future that you're creating. Yeah, and lovely. So, what's the first step you want to give them now? Should we link your online presence audit for the audience to take advantage of?
Absolutely. I think that would be the best place that somebody
Yeah.
can get started. Or if they don't want to do the audit, just come check out what we're doing on LinkedIn.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah.
Just come
I'll
check.
link those things
Yeah,
on our show notes, definitely. It's been such an insightful session talking to you on this topic. It definitely sounds like you've done a lot of soul searching to be able to speak about this from your personal realizations. and convictions. I can sense a conviction in you about doing this way, so, and obviously you're making people's lives easier, because it's like the philosophy we have here is you got to slow down to speed up. Yeah. So slowing down is hard for many service providers, but you see, Prosper is living proof that it will stop you. If you're not doing it right, you will be stopped. If you keep playing that game, something will stop at some point, because it's not within our control, is it? It sounds scary. And I'm glad I'm not always on, honestly, like I'm not there. And I don't count on Facebook to be I think you have to have some experience to kind of go, okay, this is not working. This is what I want to do. But having people like you to live to tell the story, it really is reassuring that there is a better way. And there are people to help everybody out there too, like Prosper. And so thank you so much. Is there any parting words you want to share? I mean, I would love to invite you for another session as well with the topics we were talking about before this, before we started recording the show. But tell us any other thoughts or anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to bring up right now?
I just want people to understand, I'm not saying quit social media.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you don't have to be at the mercy of the algorithms. And when you literally own your own means of production, all right, back in the time, if you had a farm, you could farm and then take your produce to the marketplace. You didn't bring the marketplace to you. So just think of it that way, right? Have the farm, do everything that's happening, and the best tomatoes, the best oranges, those are the ones you take to the marketplace. And if the market buys, then hey, you could get their details so you could supply them at a regular level. That's exactly what we are doing now. The means of production is pretty much our websites. This is now the land. Farm, put all the information, the data that you have, and then go to social media and find people that might want that. And do it again next Sunday, and do it again next Sunday. That's why markets are not open every day, because the farmers have to go to the fields. But social media has been open 24 hours.
Yeah.
We don't need it. We don't need to be always on.
Can you imagine why people are so scared to go do it? That's beautiful. Thank you so much. And that's very clear of how to understand this game. Thanks so much for your time, Prosper. Really, really, really appreciate your knowledge, your wisdom, and your clarity in this matter. And we'll be definitely recommending you to all our listeners with your links. Thank you for coming on today.
Well, I appreciate you so much for letting me play with you today with this thing, because so many people wouldn't. It's very difficult and it's very foreign to a lot of people. So I really appreciate, because I was learning as well how to actually explain it in a way that other people would understand. Because I live and breathe this every single day. So for me it makes sense, but for the other people that have never been exposed to this might be a bit difficult. So when I see you nodding your head, and the listener right now nodding their head too, thank you so much for validating the journey. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I really, really think that you are living it. You are sharing something from your personal conviction, and that's what we need more of. Like, there's a lot of noise out there, and on this podcast, I try not to add to the noise. It's not like we're not trying to educate you or advise you on this podcast, but we just want to open your mind up to another possibility. It's another way of looking at the same thing that we're all going through, and looking at how people have succeeded by doing it differently, using social media instead of it using you. And it's such a big, it's such a big topic that a lot of people don't touch or get too involved and then burn out. And we want a burnout proof business and life, and this has been very valuable to talk about. So thanks, Prosper, and thank you everyone for listening in today, hitting play. please leave your comments, questions, and thoughts about this content that we created with Prosper. I'm sure it, made you think of things on the show. Let us know what you thought. Would love to hear you and pass them on to Prosper. And we'll see you at the next one.